Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Yes, this is another voiceover. My energy is still spent. I promise the next video I will try to show my face, but I uploaded all 12 of the zodiac readings on my tarot channel, and if you want to watch those, or if you're into that, you can go check that out. And when it comes to tarot, it really does just drain your energy sometimes. Like, it takes a lot of energy to read tarot. So yeah, that's why I'm not on camera today, but I did want to film and get this video out because it's been something that's been on my mind recently, and it's about codependency. And more so specifically, it's about codependency and how people who are not codependent tend to view codependency. Because if you don't have codependency, from the outside looking in, it just looks like somebody being really stupid and foolish and staying with someone who's abusing them. And like I said, the whole world, or just people from the outside looking in, they'll judge you extremely harshly when they see codependency put on display. For example, if you watch Love and Hip Hop, then you know of that Peter Guns, Amina, and Tara love triangle. I can't stand watching that show for that very reason, because it's just codependency running all through that relationship. It's so manipulative, it's so abusive. I can't stand to watch it. But other people, they look at that triangle and they think, okay, Tara and Amina are just really stupid. Like, there's no other explanation for this. They're just dumb. And that's fair enough, because like I said, if you are not a codependent, it's hard for you to understand the way the mind of a codependent operates, but it's really not that easy to just walk away. Another example I could give would be that Hurt Bae situation in the media. And I did a similar video to this, but I since took that video down. So this is like that video, I'm refilming it, but I'm giving more insight. So if you saw that other video, then I've given this example before. But yeah, the Hurt Bae incident, a lot of people just looked at her and just said, you know, she's dumb, she's weak, she's low self-esteem. When she said that, you know, he was cheating on her, and she just went to her room and cried, and she's like, you're my best friend. And, you know, she was still being very kind to him, and she still wanted to be with him and things like that. So yeah, people were just calling her stupid and dumb and weak. And I don't think people really understand. Like I said, they don't understand what goes on in the mind of a codependent. So I'm going to break that down in this video. And I have to give a disclaimer that I am not a licensed therapist. So the people that I mentioned, I am not giving them an official diagnosis. I'm just seeing their situation, comparing it to mine, because I know for a fact I have codependency. So yeah, I'm not giving them an official, you know, diagnosis, because I'm not a therapist. And if you are unsure if you have codependency or not, I have a video that I will link that gives you 10 signs. So go and check that out, and then you can come back to this video. So I guess I should start with how we choose our partners. I feel as though a normal person, or someone who's mentally healthy and has a secure attachment style, they will be attracted to someone maybe solely based off looks at first, and then when they get to talk to them or go on a date with them, they will gradually start to build that bond. If that person is, you know, nice, if they're respectful, if they're showing interest, then that bond will start to gradually build. It is the opposite for a codependent. Whenever I would be attracted to someone, I would say that I kind of watch them from a distance first, and then when I see that they are a bit emotionally closed off, I feel more like I gravitate towards them. And a lot of people I see on social media, they make fun of that trait as well. They're just like, oh, these women out here. I mostly see them talking about women, but it applies to men too. I see them say, like, oh, these women out here, they don't want a good guy, they just want an asshole. And I'm just like, okay, even if that's the case, that's coming from a very broken place. That's not like something that who would choose to want to be with an asshole? What do you get out of that except for pain? So obviously, if people are gravitating towards those types, then clearly there's a problem there, and mostly the problem stems from codependency. So like I said, I will see an emotionally unavailable type of man, and my energy would just naturally, I would just naturally gravitate towards that energy. And it's not something that's done consciously. It's not something that I'm thinking in my mind. Well, it's conscious now because I'm aware of it, but before, when I wasn't aware, it wasn't something that I would think in my mind, oh, this guy, he has nothing to offer me emotionally, let's go and get my heart broken. Like, no, it doesn't register like that. It more so registers as, you know, ooh, there's something about this guy, I can't put my finger on it. And what it is that you can't put your finger on is that he reminds you of your emotionally unavailable parents. He or she, whatever you date, that person reminds you of your emotionally unavailable parents. You are about to enter into a cycle of traumatic reenactment, and I have a traumatic reenactment video that I also filmed is a voiceover, so I will try to link that after this one, or I would try to upload that after this one. So like I said, my energy would just be, or I would just be drawn towards their energy because they have a I don't know what going on with them. And then I would gradually start the process of pursuing them and trying to get them to open up and trying to get them to see me and love me and going out of my way for their validation. And it's like the more closed off they are, the harder I would try. And it's something that felt very, very normal to me. And it felt normal because, hello, childhood. This is the cycle that you enter into when you have emotionally unavailable parents. So it's something that feels very normal. And a lot of people don't understand that. They're just like, I don't get it. How could you be so dumb? How could you be so weak? You know, how could you be, you know, and they don't really understand that it's something that's subconscious, and it's something that once you fall into it, it just feels very natural to you. The pain feels natural, the invalidation feels natural, the them just not showing you love, it feels very natural because deep down inside, subconsciously, there's something in a codependent that tells them, you know, you're not even worthy of love, and love is conditional, and you have to jump through hoops to get it, and you have to go out of your way to get someone to love you. You don't get love for free. You have to work for it. Like, that's the programming that was running in my mind when I was in, you know, the worst parts of codependency, when I was in the throes of codependency. I'm recovering right now, so I'm in like at the tail end of it. But when I was in the worst of it, and when I was unaware of what it even was, that's what was running through my mind. Whenever any of the guys that I dated would basically show me that they didn't care about me, my instinct was to try harder. It wasn't to walk away. In fact, the thought of walking away somewhat feels like death. And I'm not exaggerating, people. This is not an exaggeration. When you are a codependent, you have very severe abandonment issues, like very severe, and I can't even stress that enough. It's like gut-wrenching how painful it is to think about leaving someone that you have a codependent attachment to. I've seen it described as it feels like your limbs are being cut off, and that is exactly what it is. So when people are like, oh my god, how weak of you, why can't you just leave? What? Why can't you just throw yourself into an incinerator? You know what I'm saying? Like, throw yourself into an oven. Like, that's what it sounds like they're saying, because it burns all over your body when you try to leave someone that you have a codependent attachment to. And imagine when they leave you, oh my god. It's like the pain of someone rejecting you and leaving you and then replacing you. It brings up the worst type of inner child pain that you can ever experience. It's horrific, and that will make a codependent chase that person, stalk that person, beg that person to come back, because the pain of being ignored and rejected and replaced, the pain is on another level that average humans do not experience. All humans experience pain when they are rejected, but if you have codependency, the pain is so severe. A lot of people will commit suicide over it. A lot of people will turn to drugs over it, because it's a wounding of shame, and it's a wounding of rejection and abandonment, and this internal feeling of not being good enough that penetrates so deeply into your chest and into your heart, into your soul. And no, I'm not being dramatic. So when you see someone in a codependent relationship and you're just like, I don't understand, why wouldn't you just walk away? Why would you stand here and accept this type of emotional abuse and this mistreatment? And it's really because codependents would rather be abused than abandoned, because the abandonment is too severe. It hurts too badly. The last codependent relationship that I had, getting out of it, I have never experienced that level of pain. And I think that's because all my other codependent relationships, I've been in and out of codependent relationships my whole life. And for all those years, I would just replace that person with someone else. Like, they would leave me or I would leave them, and then boom, you jump into another codependent relationship. And that's also why you see people who just cannot be alone. It's a numbing agent, jumping from relationship to relationship, forming trauma bond after trauma bond. It's a numbing agent, and it helps you to not have to deal with the pain of that heartache. I can honestly say that this relationship that I had last, not the one with my Libra, because I mentioned him in a couple videos, that was a healthy relationship that we just ended on a good note. But the one before that, that was the last codependent relationship that I had, and I can honestly say that that's the worst pain I've ever experienced in my life. And I have lived through stomach ulcers, I've lived through surgery, I've lived through a lot of physical pain in my body, that I might share one day. It's a lot. I have a lot of stories about chronic illness and stuff like that that I wanted to make healing videos about. But getting back on point, I've been through a lot of physical pain. My body's been through a lot, and nothing that I've been through physically can compare to the pain of that relationship ending. Because I had a very, very strong trauma bond with him, but then also because I decided to heal myself naturally, like not by getting into another codependent relationship, not by, being an escapist, sleeping all day, or not by, just escapist tactics that codependents use, when they are abandoned. And I just decided to heal myself in a healthy way. So I did get into another relationship months later, but it was a healthy relationship. So healthy relationships don't really numb the pain. And that's another thing when people are just like, why do you jump from one asshole to the next asshole, one abuser to the next abuser? And it's honestly because healthy relationships that are, reciprocated, like where your love is reciprocated, it doesn't numb the pain. It doesn't. Only dysfunctional relationships where you're being mistreated and when you're being cheated on and when there's a bunch of drama, that is a numbing agent that numbs the pain. That numbs the pain of that shame, of that embarrassment, of that heartache, of the things that you've been through with your parents, of the things that you've been through with your last relationship. Like, only another dysfunctional relationship can heal that for a codependent, and also, or can numb that for a codependent. And also, with codependency, and anybody who has codependency, please jump in the comment section down below and verify all of this information, because I'm speaking for me, but I'm also speaking for just stories that I've heard and research that I've done and things like that. So also with codependence, we will jump from one relationship that's very intense to the next one that's even more intense. It's kind of like drugs where you don't get high off of a certain amount anymore. So then you have to go to a harder drug and a harder drug. And that's why it will seem that codependents get into worse relationships one after another. It's like one was bad and then the other one's worse and then the next one's even worse. Like it gets worse and worse and worse. So the codependent attachment I had to my ex from a year and a half ago, that was the strongest trauma bond that I have ever had, and it was the hardest to break because I chose to break it in a healthy way. So I became severely depressed. Like I said, it feels like your limbs are being ripped off of your body. It feels like your heart is on fire every day when you wake up and you walk around with your heart being on fire. The cognitive dissonance in your mind it makes you feel like you're going crazy because logically, that you're going to survive. You're just like, listen, I'm fine. Like, I'm not in any physical danger. Logically, you know this, but your inner child doesn't know that, because you have to understand that, like I said, this relationship mimics the relationship that you have with your parents. So when you're younger, you do depend on your parents for food, shelter, and things of that nature when you're a baby. So it is a life or death situation when, you need to be attached to your parents. So when this happens, when this person that you have this codependent bond to, when they walk away from you or you're forced to walk away from them, you will feel like you are dying, because it takes you back to that time in infancy when you were being, not nourished, or you were being rejected or neglected by your parental figure that was responsible for keeping you alive. So it does feel like you are dying. So the cognitive dissonance in your mind is very it's maddening. It's very maddening because you, like I said, logically as an adult that you're not going to die without this person, but your inner child and your subconscious mind is telling you that you are dying, and your body just feels like it is self-destructing. Like, I can't describe the pain, okay? Like, people who have codependency, they know what I'm talking about. People who've ever had a trauma bond, they know what I'm talking about. And another form of cognitive dissonance that we experience as codependence is that we see ourselves in a very low type of way, and then we put our partners on a pedestal. So even when that person is being extremely disrespectful to us and is dismissing our feelings and just being very insensitive, we will in our minds say that is our fault. It's my fault. I did something wrong. I did something to deserve this. Because don't forget that codependency can only be formed when you have a neglectful or an abusive parent. So you naturally have it in you to have this low self-esteem, especially if you are the child of a narcissist. You naturally have it in you to have this low self-esteem and to blame yourself for all of the traits of the person that's harming you. Because when you're a kid, your mind can't process the fact that your parents are damaged and that they're abusive. So your mind will automatically turn it back around to you, because that's safer as a kid. It's safer to say, okay, I'm the problem, so as long as I do right or I do certain things, then, you know, I won't be abused, or I won't be ignored, or I won't be neglected. It's much safer and easier to take on that type of mindset as a child than to have to process that your parents are neglectful or abusive. So we carry that with us into adulthood when we are codependents, and whenever someone is mistreating us, we take on that load and that burden, and we say, okay, it's my fault. I did a video about my narcissistic fiance that I had in college, and everything that he did to hurt me, I felt like it was my fault, and I felt like I deserved to be treated that way. And that's why I stayed for as long as I did. I felt like it was my duty to be better, to be a better person in order for him to respect me, in order for him to love me. I felt like it was all on me, and I carried that with me even after that relationship. I mean, that's always been in me, but it really spiked in that relationship. And after that, my relationship just got worse and worse. And I started meeting narcissists who were even more malignant and who lacked empathy even more, and who were even more manipulative. Because like I mentioned, it's like a drug. It gets worse and worse each relationship that you get into. So my ex from a year and a half ago that I had the very extremely strong trauma bond with, that relationship, it was the same exact thing. I blamed myself throughout the whole thing. It was a point in our relationship where he went and talked badly about me to his ex that he claimed he couldn't stand, but he went and talked badly about me and ran all my business to her. Like, he told her all this personal stuff about me, and then she put it in a thread on Twitter. Like, she tweeted it, and with my picture and everything. Like, yeah, y'all, it got real crazy. So even that, you know, when I was asking him, why would you do such a thing? Like, how could you give her the ammo to shoot me? Like, what is wrong with you? And he was just like, well, I was mad at you because, you know, you kept on arguing with me, and you kept on bringing this up and that up. And I literally took that responsibility as, okay, the reason that he did that is because of me. It was my actions. I'm the one who drove him to do that, not knowing or understanding that that was my codependent state of mind working against me, and not wanting to see, no, his character is just off. Even if he was mad at you, someone who has a good character or who has integrity would still never do such a thing. Someone who has empathy would never do such a thing. So in my mind, I was just like, one, this is my fault because I should have never shared my abusive history with him. That was too much, and I shouldn't have done that. Like, I'm so stupid. Why would I do that? And then two, it's my fault because I made him mad, and because I hurt his feelings, and therefore that's why he did what he did, and then that's why I stayed with him after that. So when it comes to codependency, our minds work against us, and we convince ourselves that we are the problem, and as long as we can change and we can do better, then we can fix the relationship. And you have to really think about that and understand that we only adopt that mindset because it's safe. It's safe to say, it's me, let me fix this, rather than saying this person is an abuser, they don't love you, they don't like you, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's out of your control, so now you have to leave them. It's easier to just say, it's safer, it feels safer to just say, it's me, it's my responsibility, I'll fix it, and then try to do whatever we can. And it always works out where that person ends up leaving, or we end up having to leave them. It never works out for the best, because the relationship is just built on very rocky ground. It's not built on solid ground. So whenever you see someone in a codependent relationship, the worst thing that you can do is shame them, because that will make them cling on to their abuser even more. Like, they already feel this core shame that's causing them to attach to that person. So you shaming them or saying that they're stupid or weak or get a grip with your problem, that actually will make them turn to the person for validation even more, and be starved for that validation and that love from that person even more. So it's just very backwards how, like I said, people view codependence, and instead of asking, like, you know, what happened to that person, they'll ask, what's wrong with you, you know? And the best route would be to ask, what happened to you, instead of what's wrong with you, and to not be so judgmental. But again, sometimes there's things that people will never understand because they've never had to go through it in life. So the best course of action for anyone who has codependency is to, you know, reach out to other people who have experienced, you know, your similar situations, so then you can feel understood. Because like I said, there's nothing worse than feeling isolated as a codependent, because you already live with such core shame that being isolated and shameful will really just make you want to run back to your abuser, or run back to that person you had that trauma bond with, and try even harder to get their approval and their validation. But yeah, I think that's it. That's all I really wanted to say. But yeah, the next time you see someone in those type of relationships, just remember the sentence, I'd rather be abused than abandoned, because that is what runs through the mind of a codependent. So leave your experiences down below. Let me know if you found this video helpful or insightful in any way, and I will see you guys in the next one.